Okay, so jumping back in, again, we're talking about these limiting beliefs and building this game plan for 2015. Sharing here just a minute ago with you that my business coach instantly identified a very large limiting belief that I didn't even realize that I had. It was about, I won't go into details, but it basically was me thinking I wasn't ready for something that she said, well, it's obvious you are because you're already doing it. So what makes you think that you can't, go to the next level? And without going into great detail, because it really wouldn't serve you guys all that well to hear the details, the point is we all have limiting beliefs in certain areas of life that oftentimes we don't even recognize that we have. And what I want you to do is I want you to really begin to, we're going to go on the next slide here and we're going to cover that. But we're going to have to basically take the bull by the horn, so to speak. We're going to have to identify these and deal with them. And so we'll go into detail about that. And the next thing that we're going to talk about is talking about playing off of your strengths while minimizing your weaknesses. And we're going to go over about how to create some efficiencies in your business. Then we're going to set out some goals, map out in some detail, and then lay out a written strategy. And I've got one written that we'll go through. Again, just because I think it's going to be helpful for you to see something the way I write these. Maybe it'll spark some ideas for you. Here, now, many of you know that I'm a big proponent of the 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class by Steve Siebold. And it's a book that I've encouraged some of you to get, and I've got it right here with me. It's my all-time favorite personal development book, and this book has really helped me come so far. Now, all that said, you just heard me say about a minute ago that I just had a major limiting belief that somebody else identified that I didn't even realize I had. You see, the idea is that it's a process. And I've been able to make 7 figures as an internet marketer so far and counting. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't have made 5 times that. See, because limiting beliefs will hold you back. So if you make 100, what's to say that you couldn't have made 300,000? Or if you made 500,000, what means to say you couldn't have made 1.5 million, right? The point is, it's a process. Don't think that you're going to spend some time in this book or in some resources and you're going to deal with every limiting belief and then you're never going to have any challenges. The point is that life is dynamic, there's ebbs and flows, and that as we go through life, the gift of life that we've been given, it's our responsibility to develop ourselves in terms of our thought processes, right? Getting rid of stinking thinking and negative beliefs and negative thoughts, and developing something different. Champions develop world-class beliefs long before they become champions is something that Steve Siebold says. And I really, really like that quote because it is so true. Oh my goodness, it's so true. You see, the middle class, they compete. The world class, they create. The middle class avoids risk, but the world class manages it. Do you see the difference here? They're not just subtle nuances. These are significant differences. The middle class loves to be comfortable. They'll do anything to just be creatures of comfort. I want my comfort food. I want my comfort this. I want my comfort that. The world class understands that they're going to be comfortable being uncomfortable because to really have the most success in your business requires that you manage risk, not avoid it. That you create something out of nothing instead of just quote unquote competing with somebody else and ultimately becoming comfortable being out of your comfort zone. Because if you imagine a circle on a page, say it's about that 3 inches in diameter, okay? And then just out about 2-3 inches out to the left of that, outside of the circle, you put a dot there, okay? And the circle in the center of the page is your comfort zone. The dot on the outside of it represents you being outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to always see yourself outside of your comfort zone because that's where real growth is going to happen. That's where real profit's going to come in. And ultimately, that's where real satisfaction will develop from because that you're doing things that are not necessarily known to you. They're not necessarily, you're not fluid or well rehearsed with those things. You're just doing things above and beyond yourself. And as you grow and expand, your world will grow and expand as well. So I put a few quotes on here on the page or thoughts from the book that I thought were really, really helpful. And in particular, I found something that I wanted to share with you here. Let me just see if I can pull that up real quick. And it's just a small paragraph. But I was reading this morning, and I felt it was powerful. It's on page 167 if you guys have the book. And it's talking about, let's see, I want to make sure I get the right one. Yeah, it's talking about how the world class, he's got 4 different classes. He's got poverty class, working class, middle class, and world class. And he identifies 4 different people groups, okay? It's not to say somebody's better than somebody else. It's just different types of belief systems that people have, and that's why he calls them middle class versus world class. And I'm just going to actually read this to you because it's so short, but it's so good. The middle class consciousness tends to rely on other people's actions, other people's opinions, and other people's behaviors. The world class learns to rely on themselves. They develop a supreme self-confidence and a penchant for action. The philosophy of the world class is to take full responsibility for their successes and their failures. See, average performers want to blame everyone for everything. The smoker who gets sick wants to, of course, blame the smoking of the tobacco company for the illness. The fast food junkie becomes obese from ingesting hundreds of cheeseburgers and pizzas and wants to blame the restaurateur that served her. The poverty, the working, and the middle class levels of consciousness often have a victim mentality. Professional performers take responsibility for their decisions and exercise self-reliance. Maybe most importantly, champions don't look to other people to make them happy or successful. The great ones know happiness is not something you get, it's something you are. The great ones understand success isn't something that you one day achieve, but you develop daily through consistent action. And while champions enjoy the company of others, they're just as happy to be alone. Their core level of contentment ultimately begins with them. I thought that was so powerful because I think oftentimes we look outside ourselves. We look to others to maybe help to create the success that we're looking for, to help us kind of get to that tipping point. But the reality is that so often we just need to stop looking elsewhere, take responsibility for who we are and what we have, and ultimately take personal accountability for our situation. Let me give you an example of that. I'm right in the middle of a web design project for myself, for a new product. And I didn't follow my gut and develop this project the way that I should have. In fact, to give specifics, I typically design a website in Photoshop first. It's a graphic, and you get it exactly the way that you want because graphics are very, very easy. Photoshop is very, very easy to make changes instantaneously that don't require code and technical things. But I did it reverse this time, and I actually hired an external company to do this for me. And long story short, thousands of dollars into this project, I realized I'm not getting the finished product that I really expect and that I demand to the quality that I want. And so we now have to go back to basically day one. And I told them today my dissatisfaction and the changes that we need to make. And so, long story short, I got to go back to the drawing board. I just burned through another week of time because things have to be done differently. But I can tell you this, mark my words, the finished product will be 10 times better than what I have today. It absolutely will. And the problem is, I think I tried to take a shortcut, and at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility and also follow our gut. I guess I just believed that I could let somebody else kind of do everything and sort of get in my head, and it just didn't work. And so developing a belief system that's powerful and robust and that serves you well is a process. And that's really what I'm trying to say to you guys. It's a process. So, for me, investing time daily in books and CDs and videos and things like that really help build my belief system. They help improve my self-esteem, right? I have a greater expectation of good things, and honestly, I see dramatically improved focus, and my capacity to serve others expands. I just live a better quality of life. This is exactly why we all need to be spending time daily addressing limiting beliefs. Let's kind of move on. We've got again, a bunch to go through. But again, the whole point of this coaching, this training today, guys, is simply this. I just want to touch on each of these points briefly. We could spend hours and many hours on each of these. But let me just say this as we leave off of the limiting beliefs, the belief system development section. I want your commitment to yourself. I want you to commit to yourself, if you're not already doing so, to spend at least 30 minutes a day in personal development. That could be books, videos, CDs, all that kind of stuff. And it can also include time where you're just quiet, your eyes are closed, and you just simply see the results that you want before you actually have them. And you need to get to the place where, and I typically spend 5 or 10 minutes a day, okay, where I shut my eyes, I've laid out my goals, I understand what I want to create, and I have to build that belief system on the inside. And so I'll spend a few minutes reading this book here, the Mental Toughness Secrets book, or maybe something else. And then I'll close my eyes and I'll just let myself feel, what does it feel like to have already achieved my goals, okay? And it's that point is the tipping point for me every single time. When I allow myself to experience what it feels like to have already achieved X number of thousands of dollars a month and X number of people served and X number of products sold, that's where the results really come into play. All right, let's move on to the next one. Capitalizing your strengths. Following your passion leads to fulfillment, joy, and peace every single time, guaranteed. Okay? You need to decide what your greatest skills, your greatest talents and abilities are, and then you need to create a workable plan to build a business out of it. Now let's bring this home, okay? I mean, we've got several people on the webinar here, and we're a pretty tight-knit group today. So I just want to bring this home a little bit, okay? Think about this. Are you achieving the results that you're looking for right now? And if you're not, you got to ask yourself the question, why not? Okay. Where do you feel like you're falling short? Where do you feel like you're missing the mark? And that leads me to the next thought, which is, what are your greatest strengths? And are you currently utilizing your greatest strengths? My guess is if you are not creating the results that you want, then you are not capitalizing on your greatest strengths. That you're not leveraging your greatest passion, skills, talents, and abilities. That is my guess. And I want you guys to go ahead and just drop in the chat box. I want you to say, give me a comment, okay? Say, using my passion. So do this. Say, following my passion. If you feel like you're truly following your passion, and if you're not, saying not there yet. I'm just curious to get some feedback from you guys here in the chat box, because I think it's so important. So again, if you feel like you are truly using your greatest skills, talents, and abilities, and it's creating the results that you want, then say following your passion. If you're not, then say not there yet. And guys, there's no shame in this. It's not like I'm going to call you out and give you a hard time. But I think we need to take ownership of this. Okay, so thank you for your honesty. I'm seeing some not there yet. And you know what, guys, I'm right there with you. Can I just tell you that we're really no different? I feel like my greatest aha moment of 2014 was to do just the very thing that I'm encouraging you to do, which was follow your passion, pursue your passion. And I'm doing that. And to be perfectly candid with you guys, I am doing a bit of a rebrand for myself and following my greatest passion, which is video marketing. I've been a video marketer for years. In fact, I've used video marketing to build my online business for 6+ years. And it has been the number one most profitable thing I've ever done. It has been the number one most beneficial thing I've ever done, and it's been the most fun thing I've ever done. And so I'm following my passion in moving forward in 2015 in terms of video marketing, and I'm launching an entire new course. In fact, a couple of different courses, but one primary course, and am doing a rebrand where I'm going to become the video guy. And that's what I do, because everyone who's ever seen my stuff, maybe you guys can concur, tell me, Brian, wow, we love your videos. Your videos are really great, and you seem to love video. It seems like it's kind of your thing, and it really is. So I'm being perfectly, blunt with you all that I am going to capitalize on my strength. My primary gift is to speak, to persuasively, hopefully inspire and to share strategies and teachings and trainings, right? I mean, I just love to get in front of a camera. I love to get in front of a microphone and simply share from my heart. And that has always served me really, really well. And if you're not taking an honest inventory of where your strengths and weaknesses are, right, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So you can see here on the screen, you need to understand what you're great at and do that one thing or that primary thing every single day, because that's how you're going to explode your results. You could be a phenomenal web designer, right? If that's your greatest thing, if that's your passion, if that's your, your core strength, do that and outsource the rest, okay? And one of the things that I found is I simply ask people, and sometimes people just offer their opinions either way, right? And over the years, if I've gotten one comment more than any other thing ever, it's that people tell me, Brian, you seem so honest and authentic with your videos. You seem really unlike anyone else we've ever seen on the internet, and your videos inspire me, right? So I mean, when you speak, you inspire me. Those are the things that people have said about me. So I decided we're just going to do that, and we're going to focus on what I do and what I do best, okay? Here's some examples. Again, I just kind of shared a couple of those things, but I want you to look at, I gave a few examples here on the screen. I just shared those. I want you to look inside and go, what are your greatest strengths? I want you to write in the chat box if you can. I know some of you guys are like out in the car, on the phone or whatever, but if you can write in the chat box, just write in one thing that is your greatest passion, okay, for work. What is the one thing that if you could do that and that only, what would you do? For me, it would be, of course, video marketing and speaking, because that is video marketing. So for me, it's videos. What would be the one thing that if money weren't a requirement, what would you do? Okay. So again, I'm looking for some feedback in the chat box. Just type that in. Think about that for a minute. Type it in. Again, my primary gift is to communicate ideas and concepts and strategies to others, and like I said, hopefully in meaningful, inspirational ways. And I want you to write that in the chat box. Also, write down the one thing that you are weakest at. For me, it's techie things. It's mundane, repetitive things. I so don't like bookkeeping, okay? I don't like data management. I don't like any of that stuff. But here's the funny thing. My wife likes that stuff. She does not like anything techie, as I don't, but she's a detail person. My wife loves repetitive tasks, like accounting and bookkeeping and administrative stuff. She really enjoys that. I do not. I'd rather eat dirt than do that kind of stuff. Okay? Let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about creating an environment of efficiencies. This is something that I've learned and I'm getting quite a bit better at, is email. One of the things, the changes that I made in 2014, especially toward the end of the year, was removing things that wasted time, and that was starting my day off with email. I would start my day with email. It might take 30 or 60 minutes to go through it, sometimes less, sometimes more, but I realized that I was starting out my day based on somebody else's agenda, not my own, and so I've decided that I have a punch list. So I start out my day now with a punch list. Sometimes I'll do this the night before, and I'll lay out the things that I want to do. Let me be, again, very transparent here and share with you. I have 4 videos on my punch list to do today, okay? I had to update a webinar, and I had to get with my business coach. So there's 5 things that, plus, of course, preparing for this webinar training and to actually do this. So I really had 6 things on my to-do list today, okay? Email was not the thing I checked first, I can promise you that, nor was social media. And what I found is by checking email a maximum of 2 times per day, and you schedule the time, okay, this is ideal. I don't always get this exactly right, but I can tell you this, I never check email first unless there's some emergency situation or something, okay? I typically check email the 2nd or 3rd hour of the day of me working. I don't always start at the same time, but usually it's in the morning. Okay, now I'll check again in the afternoon and once in the evening. It kind of depends on what I've got going on, okay? Because if I'm going back and forth with designers and things like that, I will need to check email more frequently. But generally speaking, it's twice a day. You know what? Facebook is the exact same thing. You've got to manage your time on social media because it will distract you and suck you dry from your focus and energy, okay? So thank you. I'm seeing some comments in the chat box, so wonderful. And social media, again, for me, is just a real time suck. And it's an energy suck as well, because people have different agendas. And so it's just no different than email, just a different place to drop your own agenda on somebody else. And that's really what it is. So I found that managing my time with email and social media helped me create really an environment of efficiency. Not being task oriented also did not serve me well. And so before I open the lid of my laptop, I need to know exactly what I'm going to do, ideally in order, okay? So like I said, I had 6 things that I knew I had to do today. And you know what? I have a timer. I've got this little timer I got from, I think it was Bed Bath & Beyond. It was like 10 bucks. I encourage you, get a timer or use an online timer, or use your iPhone or something. But to time the things that you do, time the time you spend in email and on social media. So for example, I had to edit a webinar. Now it had quite a few slides in it. There's like several dozen slides, and I got that edited. I had to change the background images out and do some minor tweaking, and I got that done in 12 minutes, in like 20 seconds. I timed it, so I know this. And I found that I was being pulled in every 2-3 minutes. I was being distracted to something else, and I thought, holy cow. I kept looking over the timer and realized if I focus, I'll be done in about 10 minutes. If I don't, it's going to take me about half an hour, and then I'm going to feel frustrated. You see, we don't all necessarily, you guys don't have to do the exact same thing that I do, but I'm just sharing some examples. It is really important that you write out the things you want to accomplish for the day, because if you don't, you're going to be distracted and pulled in other directions, and in all likelihood, you will not get everything done that you need to, or even most of it done. By focusing on the one thing that will move you closer to your goals in terms of your annual goal or even a quarterly or daily goal, that will help you feel better about yourself, be more productive, and ultimately make more money. So I work in blocks of time, and I've done this on and off for years, but I found that working in a block for about an hour works really well for me, and I got to get up and I got to move around. Drinking enough water and getting enough sleep, sleep is huge. Again, those things are simple, they're basic, but we all need to be reminded to do them. I would encourage you, unless email is part of your job, spend less than an hour a day in email and social media, unless social media is a fun thing to do after work, right? I'm talking during working hours. Let's move on. Goal setting and planning. Not having specific and actionable goals is kind of like driving in the dark without the headlights. You can't really see where you're going very well, and you're going to make mistakes. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to track your progress. And if you're not tracking your progress, you're not working smarter, you're working harder. Here's an example of my goal setting and planning. Again, I told you guys I would write this out. I obviously left out certain pieces of information because that's not relevant to you, but everything else is. So for example, 2015, my goals are to create more of a lifestyle business where I'm serving more people. I'm making more money, but yet I work 15% less. See, I'm being specific than I did last year doing X thing. Okay, and I was intentionally generic there. See, I love doing, so I said last year, I'll make more money this year than I did last year while working less, doing the one thing that I love doing, which of course is video marketing, and outsourcing the rest. In terms of annual revenue goals, fill in the blank. I just threw in some blank numbers there, obviously, but you need to be specific. What are your gross revenue goals? And what types of products or services or whatever, what are you going to sell, and who are you going to sell it to, and how much you're going to make? You need to write these things down. I already have my goals, and exactly, it's up on my whiteboard already. See, because it's important that we spend time to prepare in advance so that we can, when you plan in advance, and then then you're able to execute based on your plan and assess where you've missed it, where you've fallen short, but also where you've successfully achieved it. And if you look back and you see that you missed it, you know what? You got to be honest with yourself. Okay, I missed it. Why did I miss it? Well, maybe I was afraid, so I need to go back and touch on limiting beliefs. You know what? Maybe we ran out of money. Maybe we didn't plan enough. Maybe we didn't, allocate enough advertising dollars in the budget, right? Whatever. I'm just hopefully giving you guys some context so you can think this through. You need to have annual revenue goals as well as quarterly goals, and ideally monthly revenue goals. Also, the same thing holds true for lead flow and lead volume. Okay, you need to know what your fixed monthly expenses are to operate your business. You need to know what your advertising budget is. assuming that you're advertised. And if you don't advertise, then you better have a pretty clear plan to grow your business, whether it's word of mouth or referrals or something. Because if you don't, mark my words, you will fail. You will not achieve what you want if you don't have some sort of way to consistently grow your business. And it's either going to be word of mouth and referrals in all likelihood, or walk-in traffic, or you're going to have to advertise, or a little of everything. But you need to have a very clear plan. Again, with details. So for example, annual sales volume goals, right? I want X number of sales. Okay, so 1,000 sales, one product, maybe 2,400 sales of another product with X number of dollars minus ad costs, churn, which is, it's a retention thing. And I want less than 30% churn. So I've got that down, right? That's my number. I never want to exceed 30% churn. Minus related expenses equals net profit. Pretty basic stuff, but I can tell you this. I have coached hundreds of people. How many people do you think out of those hundreds actually did this? What percentage you think? You think 50%? 30? 10? Based on my personal experience, it's about 2%, maybe 3. Maximum. Actually sit down and write this out. May it not be said of you that you're one of the 97 or 98% that does not do this. It takes, honestly, maybe a few minutes to do this, but to write out specifics about expenses, advertising, annual income goals, lead flow, expected lead costs, and a real actionable and hopefully scalable plan is huge. I'm seeing 5% coming in. Yeah, 5%. That's funny. Actually, I wish it were at least 5%, but really, again, it's what I found is maybe 1 to 3% to be very generous. Okay, that's just sad, and this is why most people don't create the results that they want, and they walk away frustrated and disillusioned. All that doesn't work, whether it's the internet or something else. Okay, it's not the internet. It's them. Because they didn't do the thing that they should do. Imagine if, I don't know if all of you went to college, but imagine we're all back in college. You're in a class. The professor tells you you need to do this. This is one of your assignments. It's your final assignment where 50% of your course grade is based on this one thing. Now, I took some courses in college, and I think one of them was like a management course. Did you know that we had to do things like this? And if you don't, 50% of your grade, you fail the course, basically, if you don't do it. Fail the course. You can't graduate college without the course, right? It's that kind of thing. Imagine if we took the same mindset and applied it to our businesses. What if you had guaranteed failure if you didn't do this and you didn't do it this week because it was due? How would your life be different? How would your business look different? Imagine if we just took the same attitude that we took in college toward things that quite frankly didn't really matter all that much, and we put it into our business and into our life and implemented it, like goal setting and having the plan all written out. And so what if I told you it was due this Friday, and that your business was doomed to imminent failure? What if you were guaranteed to fail if this wasn't done in 3 days? Would you do it? Of course you would. But why don't we have the same idea or mindset about that as we do, like I said, the example I gave in college? It's these types of things you need to know. And by the way, I remember the very first time I did this, I hit my numbers. I was like within 10% of my numbers. Not kidding. My very first goal was like $250,000. Okay, and plumber is pounding away. So we're going to have to wrap this up here because he's going to be hammering. All right, so anyway, all that said, I've got very specific numbers and details here, and I want you guys to be smart about your goals, to be specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time specific. And I don't mean to do you guys a disservice, but we got this situation here with the house. It's like 10 degrees outside, by the way, so we can't have frozen stuff and then water backing up. So my apologies for having to cut this short.